To start off, I have simply a model of a reborn baby doll that I have in my collections. She's the Vivian Sculpt, and she is perfectly happy to help out. She has no choice, really. Oh my goodness. Hello, I'm Yvonne, and welcome to having you on. It's time for another edition of In the Crib, and today's topic is how to sell a reborn baby doll. I'm going to add the word quickly to the end of that because I hope to offer you helpful hints so you can sell reborn baby dolls quickly. So let's get into this topic. From time to time, I do a segment on my channel called In the Crib where I cover various topics such as how-to videos, discussion videos about what's happening in the community, and today is a helpful hint. To start off, I'm sharing a reborn baby doll I have in my collection. She is the Vivian Sculpt, and she's going to be looking at you to see if you're paying attention. I guess. And we're going to get into this topic that I wanted to cover for some time. And I wanted to share some things I have observed as well as witnessed. I guess that's the same thing. I'm going to share with you what I actually had seen in real life as well as online, and many of the things I had seen at doll shows that work and things that don't work, and how to list your reborn baby doll. So the most important point I want to make, and it all starts with this, and it all is a hit or a miss, sometimes a costly miss for you, and that is understanding your price point. What price are you going to suggest for the value of the reborns that you're creating or selling secondhand? So I wanted to get into some mistakes as well as the good parts. I want to just concentrate on the negative, but I have to start off on some of the negative that I've seen and perhaps letting you know, don't go there, so you can sell your reborns quickly and get a fair price. So that's what we're going to get into. We're going to get into price points, understanding your price point for the value of a reborn that you're either selling secondhand or that you have created as a reborn artist. And from what I've seen at the shows, I've seen some mistakes being made as well as people that know their stuff and understand what they're doing. And so we're going to get into both parts of that, is those that fully get it of what's happening and those that are kind of in the loss of what they're doing. So in order to make improvements of finding out why your dolls aren't selling, is you have to admit that perhaps you're making a mistake. And what mistake could you be making? And that's where I'm getting into price point to start with. So I'm going to be talking about a brand new artist that might attend a show, and one artist had rented a booth. It's costly, right? That's all part of your production startup cost, is renting a booth. Of course, the hotel and all that stuff, traveling, all that. So you know all that's going into it, right? And then, of course, how they're going to build their booth and what they're going to have in their booth and all the decor and all that stuff. So there's all that went into it. And she had taken a reborning class, but she was a brand new artist, not established, and she had set up a booth, and she had all good intentions, just like if you're going to start up a restaurant, but you may not have the best chef, so you probably won't do well. So this is what happened. Her dolls were priced very high for the level that she was at. There were other established artists at the show. The competition is fierce, and you have to perhaps have a certain sculpt that somebody's looking for. It's painted in a certain way. It has an outfit on that somebody just loves. Any of those things could be part of it, and of course who the artist might be. All that comes into play. But if a brand new artist arrives with expectations of getting the same amount or hire of established artists, it's not going to happen. And sometimes you have to cut yourself a nice slice of humble pie if you have intentions of selling your reborns at the same level as established artists, a well-known artist, an artist that makes beautiful, beautiful reborns. And yes, you're just starting out. Yes, there are artists out there that come out of the gate. They're extremely talented, and yes, the reborns look amazing from the very start. But I'm talking about those artists that are not established, are just starting, just learning, and just learning their craft on what to do. So one big artist I had seen that arrived at the doll show, and of course there's all the cost of the travel there, creating all those dolls, buying all those sculpts, buying all the paint, buying all the hair, whatever might be needed, outfits, all that stuff is all production cost. And you cannot expect your customer to take care of your costs if you're not established artist, if you're just beginning artist, or if your level is not the same as an established artist. It's not going to happen out of the gate. It's going to happen gradually, but not out of the gate. So one particular artist I had seen at one of the shows arrived with a wonderful expectation that all of her dolls would sell, but she did make some serious mistakes, and that started with her price point. Her price point was way too high for the level that she was at, and she didn't have her humble pie. She didn't know about that humble pie of that maybe her dolls weren't of the same quality as another established artist. And it was sad, I will tell you, that I believe that she left taking home all her reborns that she did not sell. I went to her booth. I inquired about a reborn. That's how I knew about her price point. But this one reborn, I asked about it, and it was ridiculous as far as the price. Ridiculous price. So of course I talked about beginning artists, and I've talked about artists that may price their reborns at too high of price. Well, I want to get into the resale market of collectors that have reborns in their collection that they want to sell, and some may have expectations that aren't realistic. I'm going to first talk about the first scenario that is a bad scenario that nobody wants. Nobody hears about and go, oh no, but it happens. You have to be aware that it does happen. And it sort of happens, this time it happens online versus if you were there in person, you got to see the reborn in person, what they really look like. And sometimes there are misleading, unethical things that happen where people might not be truthful on their level, and again price their reborn way too high, and when it arrives you're so disappointed, and then immediately you want to get rid of it out of your collection, so you go to resell it, and you cannot price it the same price as what you paid for, because that's not fair. You wouldn't want to have somebody pay for your mistake. I know some will, but you really shouldn't have someone pay for your mistake. It's not what you expected, and you have to price it accordingly. You cannot price it the same price of what you paid for it, because you have to be truthful and show truthful photographs of what it really looks like. And that, yeah, you don't want somebody to pay for your mistake. So you take your big old slice of humble pie. It may go down bitter, but you have to be fair, and you wouldn't want to do that to someone else. You wouldn't want someone else to do that to you, even though it happened to you. So that's one scenario. I want to say the most negative, horrible experience that could happen to you firsthand. That first mistake. Let's get that one out of the way. Get that one out of the way. So we're going to move on to the more general things. There are collectors that have their reborns in their collection for long periods of time, and then there's collectors that cycle out the reborns pretty frequently, we'll put it that way. And can they price their reborns at the price that they paid for it? Well, I have experienced this where I want to be honest. I feel I can be honest. I've had really positive experiences. First, get that out there first. I've had really positive experiences in purchasing reborns from other collectors online. Really positive, really nice people out there, really honest, really kind. I don't want to cry. I'm going to get emotional. But they're really kind, and you get exactly what you think you're getting. And you're very happy, and everything's wonderful, and that it was an easy buy, right? That's where we're getting into. You already have a buyer lined up. You know that there's somebody in the community that admires a certain Reborn that you have. And when you mention that it's for sale, yes, that's a guarantee buy, right? And I've had very, very, very positive, I want to put that out there again, very, very positive experience in buying Reborns from others in the community. However, I've also had I hate to say this is where I'm not going to get emotional. I'm going to get emotional on the other one end. I'm crying of happiness and happiness. The other end, I'm so angry. So you have both different worlds. So where you're having to pay the price that they paid for it when they got new. Remember, that's where I was getting at. You can't expect someone to pay the price that you paid for when it was new. But I'm going to get into not always, right? Sometimes a Reborn will be far more valuable later, depending on what sculpt it is, who the artist is, all that stuff. That comes into factor. But I'm talking about just a sculpt that's still available out there, and it's just like a sculpt that you've admired in someone else's collection, and they contact you. I'm talking about the negative thing. I like to talk about a positive, because then I have happy tears. But the negative one, it makes me really angry, where you want it, and then they tell you the price they want you to pay for it, and it's like, well, because I have done it. I have agreed to pay, and then I realized when wanted so badly that I purchased from someone else's collection, they didn't have to pay that price. And then I felt, well, I guess I was duped. I shouldn't have paid that price. So when you're reselling, you have to understand the value that you have. So I want to get into those Reborn sculpts that you may have, or thinking about selling, or that you know that should be the price that they are. Recently, I have sold quite a few Reborns in my collection. To do this topic at this time, from talking about my experience, is I listed some Reborns at a fair price, and well, what I wanted to sell them for. Let's rephrase that. I left it open to what somebody wanted to pay for it. Let's put it that way. And little did I know that later I would get double of what I listed it for. Double. So I had gotten the price point right. I had competing bidders over Reborns, because I knew and understand what I had, and I had the price point correct to start off what I felt their value was at. So I listened back to what I had said before, and I want to make it absolutely clear that I have not recently, I was talking about in the past, it happened to me in the past, and the reason why I want to bring up what happened to me in the past, perhaps I was naive, perhaps I just wanted a certain Reborn that I had seen in someone's collection, and so I was naive, and I purchased it the price that they were asking, and I felt like they were taking advantage of me, since finding out that I could have gotten the sculpt for less if I had just gone other places. So that does happen, but I'm talking about recently. That has not happened to me at all. This was way in the past, and recently I've been very happy. I feel the collectors I have purchased from recently are very generous, very kind, and I've gotten not only a fair price, I've gotten really good deals. I just feel kind of blessed that I got a Reborn that I wanted, I'm crying. I don't want to do that. But I got a Reborn in their collection that I admired. And that happens too, that you may want to buy a certain Reborn in someone's collection because there's a whole persona that goes along with that Reborn. You've gotten familiar with that one and you really admire that one. That is a completely different issue. That's usually a collector that understands that you really, really care about that Reborn, and you're going to take good care of it. That's a completely different thing. I'm crying about it. But let's move on to the listing. The same as though you were at a doll show and you were listing your Reborn online. It's the same goes for artists listing their Reborns on online. is that, are you being fair with the price that you're asking? And that will guarantee your sale. You have to make sure that you are being fair. But in the resale market, the first thing you want to do is look up the sculpt. If you don't know the name of the sculpt, look up the sculpt and find out what it is. I had difficulty, this is in the past, because now I learned how I kind of like things. I always have to know what sculpt I have, and I have to verify that it's not a counterfeit one, and I got to be certain that I know the sculpt artist. Got to look up the sculpt art, find out who the sculpt artist is, and so I feel most comfortable that I know what sculpt I'm getting. And sometimes, I love this, I know you're going to say, why would I love this? But sometimes I will find in the listing, it's usually estate sales where they have purchased, everything in the house, and then they come along and they find these strange dolls. They don't know what they are, so they list them under Reborns, and then they'll say in the description, I don't know what this is, I don't know what sculpt this is. And I get so excited about those listings because I know what sculpt that is. And I will find that often the price will be far lower than what it should be, and those are ideal. They don't come up very often, and they may not be the sculpt that you're particularly looking for, but I really like those. I like those ones that may not know what sculpt they have, and I get excited about that. But that doesn't happen too often. But it really helps to know what sculpt you have when you're selling, so when you can look up if the sculpt is still available, so you can say that in your listing. Let's say it's not available anymore, you can say discontinued, or you can say sold out. You can use those trigger terms, and rare edition, and you can say all those things, and that'll grab someone's attention, that a sculpt that they're particularly looking for. And yes, it's verified that it's no longer available, limited edition, all that sort of thing. And that plays into the price, of course, and also when you look up the sculpt, how much did the sculpt cost originally? So you don't want to price it lower than what the sculpt is worth. So yeah, just talking about the blank sculpt. But if it's been reborn, of course, you have to price it accordingly, and if you can, compare it to other sculpts you may see, and if it's at the same level of artistry. And I think that's clear. Because I often, and it bothers me so much that I see Reborns listed at such a high price, and you don't know why. Is that the price that the seller is just hoping to get? Is that the price that they need to get? I don't fully understand why they price them so high for what you see. I don't understand that. Sometimes, again, it could be something so rare, so hard to find. Of course, there are also listings I have seen that I passed up, and then I regret passing it up. And although I thought it wasn't reborn in the way that I would have liked, but I definitely like what I see, and I pass it up. So don't always do that. Don't always say, well, it isn't exactly what I want, but it's the sculpt. So sometimes I have done that as well. So again, let's see if I can make that clear. List your reborn at the price of its value, not the price that you need. Does that make sense? I guess that makes sense, because you have to be honest and price it accordingly. I guess that's what I want to say. Price it accordingly. Don't overprice it. Don't overvalue what it might be just because you may need that amount in your life at that time. You might need that money. Let's say you've already bought another reborn, and so you have to make up the cost. You can't expect someone else to pay your cost. You can't. And of course, I'm not talking so much about those artists that are amazing out there, and of course they can price their reborns of their value and then over their value. Because they are definitely worth it, because it's who it is, what sculpt it is, all those sort of things. Well, they know their stuff. They know what they're doing. They know the price point is correct. They know that the listing's correct. And also, I want to get into photography or pictures. I know some people may feel uncomfortable about taking pictures, but you got to be able to show what you're selling, and presentation does matter. Reborn that I can't see, I can't buy. Do you understand what I mean? If I can't see what it is, the lighting is far too dark, I can't see what I'm looking at, then I don't want to buy it. So if you don't have artificial light, use natural light. Go outside with a blanket if you can, or have a friend take a picture for you while you're holding the Reborn in your arms. If you can't put it down, just you gotta be able to show it somehow. And don't place it on top of a car. I've seen that too. I don't want to think about the presentation of how little they thought of that. It just looks like they don't care about the Reborn anymore. As far as they're concerned, it doesn't matter anymore, and they put it on top of their car. It's such a negative image already of thinking about that Reborn sitting on top of a car. I just know that is not going to be one that I'm going to go, oh, I want the one that's on top of a car. No, I want one that's in a more natural environment, in an environment where a collector at least cared about that Reborn, on a soft blanket, on a pillow, in a basket, any of those things. And also outside is beautiful natural lighting. You can go outside and take a picture, get a blanket, put it on the ground, put the Reborn on the blanket, and put it in a sort of realistic pose. Again, we're going to talk about the poses, and you don't need any shots of the toes going up the nose. Think about that. No shots of the toes going up the nose. Don't need to see up the nose. So toes up the nose. Don't need those pictures. So that helps you remember. Don't do that picture. Toes up the nose. I see far too many photographs like that of toes up the nose. Don't do those. And I'm rhyming again. So photography matters, lighting matters, and recently I also noticed that people are requiring to see the cloth body. I don't know what is going on with that. I guess it's in the secondhand market. They want to make sure that the body's in good condition. I don't know what they're looking at, but I include pictures of the Reborn in their cloth body. I guess it also helps to know if they're 3/4 or if they're full limbed, and you kind of can see it. It's written in the description usually, but some people actually need to see it, or if they're on the correct body, maybe they're looking at that as well. I don't know what that trend is happening right now where people are requiring to see the cloth body, but go ahead, include the pictures of the Reborn and cloth body. And if you're going to include pictures that the Reborn artist, I'm talking about secondhand market again, the Reborn artist had included with the listing of pictures, professional type pictures they have taken of the Reborn they had for sale, and you use it in your listing, say so, but also include a picture of how the Reborn looks now. I had seen a listing where a collector had done that, where they showed original pictures that the artist had taken, and then they showed a picture of the doll as it is now in their collection, and you couldn't see it. It's in the dark. Did you take a picture in the dark? Can you turn on a light? Can you open a curtain? I can't see the doll. Can't see the doll. So photography matters. And again, no more toes up the nose pictures. Don't need toes up the nose. Don't need those pictures. Got to be able to see the Reborn as it is. If you're just plain, just try to make the Reborn look as natural as possible, and you'll get your Reborn sold quickly. I also wanted to include the really good stuff that's out there. Artists that know what they're doing and price their Reborns accordingly. The price their Reborns at really good values, and I just love finding those. You know exactly what you're getting. You're seeing really good photographs, and they are being very honest at what they're selling. Very honest, and again, that's key. And being honest, because then you establish a returning customer. Who would want a returning customer? Everybody wants a returning customer, particularly if they're happy with their experience of buying a Reborn, and they know what they're getting because they had really good photographs to start with, and really good deal, and they're very happy with what they find. There's some really good artists out there and really good beginning artists out there. I wanted to include those too, that will price their reborns accordingly. And everything's positive that way. If we could have it that way all the time, be so amazing. And again, there's some really good beginning artists out there, and be looking for them and hunt them down and see what reborns they have for sale, and you'll get a really good deal. I know that there are, I've gotten really good deals on reborns from beginning artists, and I don't hold back from getting those. I like all reborns in my collection. I may be looking for a certain look, because I also like alternative reborns. I like reborns look realistic. I like reborns that look more dolly-like. I like reborns that I just really like what I see. It's done in a unique way, and you have to be open to what you're looking for and be clear what you're looking for. And there's some really amazing artists out there, and it just takes the matter of doing some good research and looking and making sure that you are committed to getting that reborn, that you know what you're getting. Of course, there's going to be buyers out there that want to negotiate, but sometimes the negotiation is ridiculous, and you just you are certainly not going to lower yourself to the point where you're losing money. I mean, you don't want to lose money that you've even paid for the sculpt. Sometimes they go that far, and you just have to ignore that, and there will be good buyers out there and that know how much you put into it, and understand that there's an investment there, and there's some really good experiences, and sort of push the ones that aren't so good away, and you'll be successful in either selling them or buying them. Just be really clear on what you're getting. And again, there's some really positive stuff out there, but you just have to be a little leery about of course, those counterfeit ones that are out there. Don't buy those. You're not going to get what you see. They're often using stolen photographs from other people's collections. You're not going to get what you see for that price. It's not going to happen. And it's not even going to be the correct sculpt from the real sculpt artist. Yeah, I think you already know about those. But stay clear of those. If it's a really good deal, it's not. So they exist, but no, not unless you know exactly what you're getting, and you're not going to get what you see. And just do your research, know your price point, know what you're comfortable with, know that there's some really good artists out there that have really fair prices and really low prices because they're just starting out, and many of them do reborning so often that they have already well made up their production cost of what they put in to what they do. Here's some more tips. To make a quick sell along with good photography, it's important to have good verbiage. What are you saying about the reborn in your listing? Well, it's important, of course, to include what sculpt it is. It's important to list how much does it weigh. It's important to list how long it is. It's important to list what size it might wear. It's important to list, I don't know, if it has a twin. It's important to list, is it a limited edition? It's important to list how many there are, perhaps what number it is. All these things come into factor and help sell the reborn faster. If a collector may have a question about the reborn, they may ask it, or they may move on to someone else that has answered their question for them, and they might buy that reborn from another artist that included that information. So you want to make sure that you include as much information as possible. But I've also seen other listings that are very vague. You don't have any idea. Well, there it is. Do you want to buy it? It kind of goes both ways, but I think to make a quicker sell is to let people know what they're looking at, and to include all those things that somebody may question. Oh, and also it's important to say whether or not they have a magnet. Have a magnet to take a magnetic pacifier. Also include that in your description as well, because that question comes up as well. So yeah, I want to make sure that it's important that you include the verbiage. I think I covered all the topics I wanted to cover. Be honest in your listing. Good pictures if you can. Again, be honest, be honest. Don't take advantage of other people. If you had made a mistake, if you feel you were ripped off, and you were ripped off in some cases, don't make other people pay for your mistake. And again, your startup cost, it's very expensive as a reborn artist to start in this hobby, to pay for all the equipment, but you cannot expect someone else to pay your costs. So start off gradually and move your way up. If you're extremely talented, if you're still learning your craft, price your reborns accordingly. And I thank you so much for stopping by. I'm so glad I was able to discuss and sort of give my feelings on this, how to list your reborn for sale, whether or not you're a new artist or you're selling a reborn from your collection. And buying from other collectors for me has been an extremely positive experience, and I encourage you to do so, particularly if it's somebody that you have regular chit chats with. You'll feel very comfortable with your purchase. And in the listings, look for those reborns that you're looking for and compare the price. Is a good price, is a fair price, and you'll be fully satisfied and fully happy with what you're getting. I hope that I was helpful with this video. I thank you so much for stopping by. I'm Yvonne. Thank you for watching, having you on, and stay tuned. There is going to be more happening. That's all for now. The Reborn Feel Good channel, and that's what I want you to do. Feel good. Take care.